All right, well today I'm going to talk a little hinge-cut bedding area. I'm going to set the scene here for you on what I got going on here. So the direction I'm facing right now is looking towards a massive swamp. The swamp literally goes for miles. The direction I'm looking right now, it's probably a mile and a half to the closest highway, and then it just keeps going after that. So we got this huge swamp. The deer tend to yard up in there in the winter. It's as soon as it freezes up, I can't really do much to get them to bed on the high ground because there's awesome thermal cover in there, and when it's frozen they can literally bed anywhere. So I don't even try to compete with them as far as getting deer to hold up on the high ground. But one thing that I will do that helps the deer to hold up on the high ground during the hunting season is called hinge cutting. And actually today I did just a little bit of it because I got a new toy for Christmas right there. A little Husqvarna 12-inch electric chainsaw. It's awesome. Just wanted to test it out so you'll see a little bit of fresh sawdust when I walk in there. But what I got going on here, so the swamp's down there, and then if we turn this way, there's a ridge, a hardwoods ridge. What used to happen with this ridge is we would get deer to bed in here up until the leaves fall off, and then at least during daylight there would very rarely be a deer to bed in here because it was closed canopy woods. If I were standing here right now and hadn't done hinge cutting, you could see right to the top of it. It's probably only 100 yards wide, maybe a touch bigger. And the deer just didn't feel secure. But this year I kind of took matters into my own hands and decided to go in and do some hinge cutting. So I'm going to explain what I did for those that don't know what hinge cutting is. So walk into the hinge cut bedding area. You can see the deer have a very well worn trail here, cutting up through the hinge cut. There's some fresh stuff I cut today, just trying out my new toy. Camera right there. Yeah, it got bumped when I dropped a tree on top of it. So here's the hinge cut bedding area. So essentially what hinge cutting is cutting halfway or a little bit further through the tree and getting it to tip over, hopefully keeping the tree alive. The purpose of hinge cutting is for cover, bedding, and food. As you can see, this one was cut in the summer. Look at it, just a little bit over halfway through. You can see right here there's already some new sprouts that are coming from that, so the tree is alive. So what happens is when you drop it still alive, it gets all that food that was up at the top of the canopy down to the deer's level. And when deer bed, they like to have something to eat and they like to feel secure. If the tree does happen to die, it's not a big deal because the ultimate goal of hinge cutting is to open up the canopy. And if we look up, look at that, not a lot of canopy left. I did leave a couple big mature trees here just because I like mature trees, so I wanted to keep a couple around. But most of the medium to small size trees I knocked down, and I would say 90 to 95% of these trees were ironwood, which are a junk tree in regards to timber value. And I mean, the deer do browse them some, but they don't do much good if the leaves and everything are up top. But if you bring them down to their level, it gives the deer some good food to eat. So as you can see here was a trail. I'll back up actually a little bit. This was a trail I cut during the summer. So the deer's primary trail before was this one right here, which they are still using. And that's okay because that trail goes down to a stand that we have further down the ridge. But I wanted to cut another trail cutting up this way, which ends up kicking out near that stand as well, just to give the deer another option as far as navigating through this hinge cut area. So I'll walk down this. Some things I did this summer was I tried to make deer beds. I actually make spots for the deer to bed. What you want to do is you want to find a nice flat spot If you can be somewhat elevated, that works well. Like up on the top of that hump, there's some deer beds I made. I'll show you that in a second. Actually, we made one here just right after deer season. Me and my brother-in-law, we went in here and kind of dug out a deer bed. You can see here we got a nice canopy right here. Deer, you don't necessarily need a canopy, but I do find the canopies, I don't know, help encourage bedding, because you can see we got a deer bed right here. Got one right there. And here was a spot we actually raked out for a deer bed. And right there you can see the deer definitely using it. Now we put that log right there. We gave them some good escape routes. They can cut out this way. They can cut out this way. I mean, look behind them. They're pretty well hidden in here. They can cut out back that direction. So yeah, when you're creating bedding, it's nice to have a canopy, not necessary. But other than that, you really are just looking for good side cover and food options. So here there are some little twigs and things like that the deer can browse in this spot. But he or she want to make sure that they have good cover, but they also have good escape routes. And we got the 3 routes right here, and the deer are definitely using it, because that is a well-worn bed. We have, I don't know, 1.5 feet of snow, and it's worn almost down to the dirt. So, all right, we'll sneak out this direction. You can see another ironwood that was hinged. Got a good hinge on that one. Looks like it's plenty alive. And I'll cut out this way. See, I could have done maybe a little bit more work on busting the canopy if I'd have taken some of these bigger ones, but we're going to be logging ours here this winter, doing a selective cut, and this area isn't getting logged. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been hinge cutting in there. And I wanted to leave a few mature trees on the farm, so I opted to leave these bigger ones and just try to focus mostly on the ironwoods and get them down. So here we're back on a deer trail. You can see that it's just worn right down to nothing. Tons of deer poop, things like that. So up here was the spot I knew a deer would bed. It's the top of the hill. I'm guessing there's some deer beds up here. Oh yeah, look at that right there. Boom, boom, all the way down to the dirt. So this is a spot where I'm sure the deer are bedding night after night. This time of year, I'm not thinking I'm going to get deer to bed here during the day, because like I said, we have thousands of acres of good bedding just right down there where the swamp is. But the deer do come through here at night, and the food is just right over the hill. So what they're doing is probably going and grabbing a bite to eat, coming back in here. I'm sure they're browsing on the twigs and brambles and branches on these hinge cuts, and probably go get another bite to eat and then go back to their bedroom for the day. But one cool thing about this spot is I raked out, I think it was this bed, when I created this area this summer. And you can't probably see it, but through the trees there's a box stand down next to the swamp edge. I'll try. Yeah, it's kind of tough to see. It's right there. There's a box stand down there. My brother was sitting there during deer season or during rifle season, and he said he was watching deer running back and forth on this ridge, and there were some 2-year-old bucks cruising through here, and actually there was a mature buck bedded right here, and this was a bed I had created this summer. I raked it out, kind of tried to flatten it out a little bit. The reason I knew it would be a good bed is because it's a high point, had good escape cover all the way around, or good escape routes with some side cover. These hinge cut trees behind it. But the mature buck was bedded right here, and he got to watch him get up, and he cruised through this hinge cut area, started working some does. He did eventually pop out on the field, but it was right at last light, and my brother opted not to take a shot, which is good if it's getting down to low light conditions. You don't want to be shooting. But yeah, there's definitely a mature buck using this area during the rut, which is what we have this set up for. I mean, you can hold deer in the summer, you can hold deer in the winter, but if you're not holding deer during hunting season, it's pretty worthless. And this hinge cut area is meant to hold deer during the hunting season, and that's what we saw. We did harvest one doe coming out of it, a stand that we got further down that way. after all the leaves had fallen off, coming right down one of these main trails. Gave my dad a good bow shot, and he took a doe out. But we saw multiple yearling, 2-year-old bucks cruising through here. And then, like I said, we had the one mature one, confirmed mature buck that was in here in daylight during the rut. So that's why we set this up. We want to be able to kill deer during hunting season, because otherwise it'd be illegal, right? And we don't do that. So we want to make sure that we're holding deer on our land during the hunting season. So that's why I made this hinge cut area. So here's a different trail actually I had cut. You can see, I mean, I got all the trees folded over in opposite directions. I set this trail up for the deer to roam through. And yeah, they're definitely using it. And they're getting very comfortable with it. And hopefully next year they're even more comfortable with it, where they really pile in here. So we cut up, this is kind of the top side of the hinge cut. I mean, if you're, as I'm standing, you know, if before the hinge cut you could see clear to the bottom, clear as day, there would be no issue seeing down to the field. But now with the hinge cut, I'll kind of get down to a deer's level. You know, they're about 3 feet up. I mean, look at that, you can't see anything. So deer are going to be up here. They're going to feel secure. They're not going to be worried about, you know, hunters or things like that, because they can't see us. And as long as we're playing the wind, it means smart about our access to our stands. We won't have to worry about getting busting the deer out before the hunt even begins. Alright, so cut through the top part here, the hinge cut. One thing about hinge cut, or this area, is that it is on a hillside. So I didn't really set up any beds, you know, where there was slope to it. If there is a slight slope, one thing to know about deer is they like to bed with their feet downhill. So if you set up about a 3-foot bedding log for them to bed against, you want to set it up in a way where you allow the deer to bed with their feet going downhill. Alright, so I cut a trail going through here. You can see the deer definitely using that. Cut this way. Top part of this hinge cut they're using. And look at that. You can't see the bottom at all if you get to a deer's level. At least you can see further out in the field, but can't help that when it's a big ridge. But as far as the immediate part of the field there, can't see it. So it's awesome. We got good side cover. So I'll just cruise further down this way. With hinge cutting, I mean, safety is a huge thing. You want to make sure that when you do a cut, you do a flat cut. Don't do an angled cut. The flat cut is the safest cut that you can do. Try to focus on your medium to smaller sized trees. I had